What's up, Internet? Welcome back to some more Octopath Traveler. Today, we're going to be talking about the Advanced Class, which is the Armsmaster. The Armsmaster, for those of you guys that don't know, is a class that you unlock by taking a rusty weapon over to the blacksmith and gravel, and he will turn it into a divine weapon. He gives you the access to the Armsmaster class. I made a whole video about it. If you want, check out the video about how to find all the rusty/divine weapons, and you will be well on your way to unlocking this class, which is extremely useful. But first, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is comparisons to its predecessor, which is the Warmaster from Octopath 1. Now here's the thing, the Warmaster, for those of you guys that don't know, was an extremely powerful class that essentially allowed you to one-shot bosses with the Winhild's Warcry divine skill. The Armsmaster does not, unfortunately, have this skill, and the difference between these two classes is that they are essentially, in my mind, inverses of each other, where the Warmaster, you would work on breaking down the break gauge of the boss, and then the Winhild swoops in and destroys everything in one hit. Very powerful, very fun. But this is the opposite in the sense the Armsmaster has more of a focus on versatility and being the spearhead, no pun intended, for breaking down the break gauge of the bosses so that the rest of the team can swoop in, capitalize on that break, and kill a boss before it has a chance to retaliate, which is extremely useful for today's demonstration. Personally, I like to use the Armsmaster on Temenos, which seems very weird because you look at Temenos, he doesn't look like an imposing character like Hikari, but the reason why I like him so much is that he has a lot of SP to work with, and his latent power ability allows him to break down the gauge regardless of what attack is being used. And of course, the bread and butter skill of the Armsmaster is the 6-fold strike, 6 hits from each of the 6 weapon classes. So for a grand total of 6 hits means that you will have 6 of the break gauge lowered down, no questions asked, and it works really well with him. And yeah, like, he is a cleric, he does have the support role built into him, but he works very nicely as an Armsmaster as a sort of offensive support, and you're going to be seeing that very apparently. But first, before we continue, I want to talk about the skills real quick. The skills that you get for unlocking the weapons can only be used with the weapons in question. The Conjurer Sword, the first one, is very useful if you have a fast character using it. A fast character that goes at the beginning of the turn, and then unleashes the attack at the very end of the turn, scaling based on how many actions were done in between the beginning of the charge and the release of the charge. A character like Throne or Hikari could really make use of that, but Temenos, he's somewhere in the middle. He's not really the fastest guy out there. You probably won't be using it very much on this one in comparison to other skills, which we'll be soon getting to. The Warlord Spear is a very powerful area of effect attack. Unfortunately, the ability that it has for the innate spear effect is that it can recover BP for every enemy that it kills. Unfortunately, most of the bosses that we're going to be fighting in today's video will not have additional enemies for you to hit, so you won't be really making much use of that one. It's better to focus on single target damage for the purposes of killing bosses. The Mischievous Step from the Dancer's Dagger is also very similar in that it is an AoE. It hits multiple enemies all at once. Could be useful, but unfortunately not very much use for the dagger itself for the context of fighting against bosses, since we're already going to be inflicting debuffs strategically on our own. Now, this is my favorite skill of the class, which is the Lionheart's Axe. If you guys know me, it's because I love my axes, and this is wonderful. 2 very powerful hits, and it scales based on how many weak points you've exposed on the target, and we're going to be doing that as well. This is a very good skill to use for the purposes of damage compared to the Conjurer Sword, simply because it is the same amount of damage, but times 2. It is extremely beneficial to use, and honestly just a joy to watch in action, and it'll be the focal point for the damage that Temenos will deal in today's video. Hunter's Bow, using the latent power skill might give this some use in comparison to the Mischievous Step as far as crowd control goes. I personally don't use this very much, but there are some interesting things that you can do with the break ability that it has. The moment you break an enemy using this attack, you get to have a second volley, which could result in some pretty respectable damage. Personally, I wouldn't really use it that much, but if that's what you guys want to do, then that's what you guys want to do. And then finally, the Spirit Lord Staff. This is a wonderful skill. It's basically a more powerful version of the Mystic Staff for the Cleric, but much more reliable because it does damage based on... Sorry, not only does it do damage based on your elemental attack power, but it gives you SP recovery equivalent to 1% of the damage it does. This means that even someone like Temenos, who has a lot of SP innately, he is going to recover a lot of SP. In fact, he will most likely recover all of it, assuming that the boss that you fought against or the enemy that you killed with it has less than the amount of SP that he has. So it's very, very good. So yeah, not really much else to say. The 6-fold strike and the Lion's Heart Axe is going to be your primary attacks for the purposes of this. As you can probably tell by now, the SP cost for this is quite high, and that's why it really helps that Temenos is a cleric. The 6-fold strike does use the staff, and the staff, like I said, has the effect of healing SP equivalent to 1% of the damage it does, so you will get a bit of a refund with a 6-fold strike, but everyone else though, you're kind of on your own in that. Okay, let us talk about the equip support skills. Going over to Temenos himself, boost start, deal more damage, full power, master of offense. No questions asked. I mean, more damage from deal more damage. This is the limit break from the first game that you get from the warrior class. Lets you do more than 9,999. Of course, master of offense, we are focusing on breaking enemies, so doing more damage on broken enemies is always a plus. And then of course, full power, we're fighting against multiple enemies, one encounter after the other. Having it ready to go, ready to fire off whenever we want is exactly what the point of this build setup is. Boost start means that you have as much BP as possible at the very beginning. I like to have this and full power on all of my characters simply because if the name of the game is to break enemies as soon as possible, it follows that you want to have all of your resources ready to fire off so that you don't miss out on any sort of optimal strategies, and it's exactly what we have here today. Going to the other characters, Throne, I have her as my secondary damage dealer. She does a lot of damage with the Eber's Reckoning, which scales with speed, and Throne is one speedy girl, so that's exactly what we have here. I've also made her a merchant, not necessarily because of like using the hired help. That's mostly going to be Particio in this video, but we have the donate BP. That's always nice. The merchant in general is just an awesome class, and that's also going to be reflective in the support skills when we talk about that. I also have Cassidy as a dancer. Not only does she look stunning in that dress, but she also comes with that Ruinous Kick. The Ruinous Kick lets you lower the break gauge of any enemy that you fight against, regardless of the weapon type that you were using. This pairs up very nicely with Temenos, giving you a grand total of 7 lowered break gauge whenever you want for free. And then you have the merchant that lets you use the beastlings, which is additional 4, so you get 11 free hits, essentially, of break gauge. But also, Cassidy is an amazing support overall. Her ability to expose the wind's weakness for most of these enemies is very good, so we can definitely make use of that. Now, going over to Particio, you can pretty much have whatever class you want. I personally picked Scholar because being able to expose the weaknesses of electric and ice is always nice to have. Also, the Analyze ability can really help if you just want to boost up the damage of the axe swing, but generally speaking though, the merchant in and of itself is so powerful, we're mostly just using him for hired help purposes. Now, going over to the support skills of these characters, fairly self-explanatory. Boost start, deal more damage, step ahead, full power. Like, the step ahead is just wonderful. Basically, you get a free turn at the very beginning of the fight, and then if you have a boost start, you end up getting a max boost ready to fire off if you want. Throne won't necessarily have that for herself, but Cassidy definitely will. I tend to save my boost starts for Throne's Armor Corrosive at the very beginning, and that is going to be very beneficial for damage in the long haul. Then we have Cassidy. I'm actually going to replace her Hale and Hardy with a boost start, and this way she is going to have everything she needs so that she can use her medicinal concoction talent ability, which is extremely powerful, especially with her latent skill, which lets her pretty much use all of her concoctions for free. It is fantastic, and you're going to be seeing a lot of use for that and really cranking out the numbers with this. And of course we have Particio. I'm going to replace his evasive maneuvers with, let's go for a step ahead. Why not? Give us some more chances to work with, more chances to whittle down. As long as you can get a boss down to 6 by the time it's Temenos' turn, you will get a free break. Easy. Easy money. And of course the full power is not as necessary, but full power is still really, really good on Particio because who doesn't want to have that free BP? So yeah, you can go for broke with the BP pretty much whenever you want. You can go nuts, and I would recommend doing so, especially with this character. As far as equipment goes, not really much that needs to be said, other than that Throne needs to have a very, very strong dagger. You will get a very powerful dagger in the area that we're going to for today's demonstration. Definitely make use of this one. I would say that this is more powerful than the Dancer's Blade, and the Ebra's Reckoning also scales with speed, so you definitely want to make use of that too. And every other character, feel free to make whatever equipment that you want when it comes to damage. Thankfully, the thing is, the focal point of today's video is to break enemies so they don't do very much damage to you, or they don't do damage to you at all. So in a case like that, you don't have to worry too much about physical defense power very, very much, as long as you play your cards right. Feel free to stack up some SP, feel free to give them some more damage if you want to. Just make sure that you play it right, and you will be just fine. Temenos, the only real thing that you need is just a Lionheart Axe. I think that's pretty much all you really need, but having all of the divine weapons on him is just a really nice entourage for him to be outfitted with, so we're going to stick with that. So, what's going to happen, we're going to quickly switch it over to nighttime, and we're going to head to where today's demonstration is going to be, and that is going to be the 5-tier tower where you unlock the Conjurer class. We're not going to talk about the Conjurer class just yet, but what's going to happen is we're going to go into this challenge, and then we're going to fight against all of the bosses using the setup that we have without resting even once. So let's go ahead and get into that. Alright, so here's the deal with the 5-tier tower. We are going to be fighting against 5 bosses, and you will be fighting them one after the other, but you have a chance to save or even leave in between the boss fights, so don't worry if it ends up becoming too difficult for you guys. Feel free to just go back, restock on whatever resources you need, prepare yourself. Also, even if you were to somehow wipe, there are autosaves abounding in this tower, so you can just end up at the very beginning of the floor that you were at before you wiped, go back, retreat, rest at an inn if you need to, and you are pretty much good to go. So, business. Let's talk about the first boss, which is Glenn. He has a measly 30,000 HP. He has a weakness to dagger, bow, and wind. This guy is not really worth our time. We're just going to quickly speed through this guy. I mean, he has 6 gauge, which I guess is threatening, I suppose. I mean, like, what do you want me to say? It's Glenn. And you know what? We're going to use the Armor Corrosive, because we're cheeky like that. And then we are going to... Let's see, I mentioned that he has a weakness to dagger, so let's go HP Thief. HP Thief, Ruinous Kick. And then bow. I mean, like, what do you want me to say, you guys? It's Glenn. 6 full strike fully boosted. Oh, he's still moving. Alright, I'll just kick him out of here. Excuse me for a second. This isn't a real fight. It's just something that they had to put in front of us because reasons. Anyways, moving on. With Glenn out of the way, you are free to go over to the second floor, which is a much more noticeably difficult boss. Now, the thing about the Tower of Trials is that, like I said, very forgiving, but honestly, if you know what to do ahead of time, as long as you're prepared, and you use this strategy that we're doing today, you're going to be just fine. So here's the thing, this is the Snake Charmer. This Snake Charmer has, I believe, 80,000 HP, has a weakness to Spear, Dagger, Bow, and Electric. Now, the thing about this particular boss is that it can summon the snakes that have a fair amount of HP, and it blocks off its weaknesses. This actually isn't a big deal because skills that take down Break Gauge regardless of the weakness will still affect this. So summoning Beastlings is going to lower the Break Gauge, Temenos' latent ability is going to break this. You really can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong at all, and that's exactly what we're going to try to do right now. So, I mentioned that he has a weakness to Spear, so we're going to... You know what? What if we just summoned Hired Help? and beastlings. And then we will use a ruinous kick to lower that even further. So I mentioned a weakness to daggers, so I might as well... Okay, this could be fun actually. So we're going to use the thief skill, armor corrosive, because that is going to boost the damage that we do. I know that we had the debuffs from Temenos, but might as well make use of that. And we're going to use her latent ability just for fun. HP Thief again. Alright. So the Snake Charmer has weakness to spears, which we could make use of, but... yeah, we'll do that. Expose. And then this is where the fun begins. Casty. Fully boosted latent power. 3 pomegranate leaves, please, as well as the diffusing serum to spread it to everyone, and then the strengthening serum to increase the effects. Here comes Temenos. We're going to use the On the Hunt. Really drive home that damage. And then we're just going to go for broke. This is what I said when I mentioned that the BP very early on can really snowball out of control with Casty on your team. Just because that apothecary skill is so good. And just like that, the second boss is down. Now, the thing is, the fights in general, as long as you stick by the strategy that we've been using, you're going to go get by just fine. When you really need to be careful is going to be the 4th floor, but we'll get there when we get there. For now, we need to figure Tyron the Seeker. This boss has 100,000 HP, a weakness to sword, bow, fire, and dark. So here we go. Let's go bow. And use the armor corrosive. Oh wow, okay, so what we can do is we can just use a ruinous kick right off the bat. Medicinal concoction, pomegranate leaf, ×3. Fusing serum, strengthening serum for everybody. Okay, this guy has a weakness to sword, which we could make use of. Or... yeah, we're gonna have to, aren't we? Okay. If it's with the sword, and Petitio is gonna fully boost merchant skills, hired help, summon the beastlings to whittle down the last of the break gauge. And we are ready to go to town. The Temenos, Armsmaster skills, of course, the Lionheart Axe. We have 2 weaknesses unlocked, so this is going to be a fair amount of damage right off the bat. Throne is going to switch over to... okay, yeah, Eber's Reckoning first. And then Thief skill, switch gears to a surprise attack with a sword. This should kill. Excellent. Even if it didn't kill, you see Temenos was ready to go. And we got a Tonfa, which is a much more powerful dagger. I'm not going to equip it just yet, but I will check the menu real quick. Heal up the with an Inspiriting Plum, because the thing about the Thief skills is that they cost a lot of SP as well. And Throne doesn't have very much SP to go with. Alright, here is the dreaded 4th floor. Lucky 4! We have to fight against a very challenging boss, but if you follow the strategy very closely, as long as you can finish him off in a single break, you are going to be just fine. Here is Audi from Animal Crossing. This particular boss is 100,000 HP, just like the previous one, but there are 2 forms. The first form, the one that you're looking at right now, has a weakness to axe, bow, fire, and light. There is also a second form, which hopefully you never have to see. It becomes available the moment it eats one of your party members, increases its abilities, and it changes all of its resistances, and the fight just goes downhill from there. It is a disaster of a fight, but we're going to make use as best as we can. So here is the deal. We are going to have to whittle down the... I'm curious actually, can we use a single boost from the Dancer, the Stimulate skill? We wouldn't be able to move it past. Maybe I can live with that. No, it wouldn't be worth it, would it? Okay, we're just gonna have to play it the way that we've always been doing it. Just make sure you're aiming at the boss and not the smaller guy. The smaller guy dies in one hit. Don't worry about it. And we are going to have to... Actually, we might as well expose weak points while we're here. No, let's go straight to it. We can't mess around. Merchant skill, hired help. This is going to be 4 hits. To lower down the gauge a little bit. And, let's see. Might as well donate BP while we're here as well. Down to Particio. And Throne is also going to lower her hits. So, hired help, beastlings. Summon the cat girls! Alright, now we're ready to cook. In fact, let's just go for more cat girls. Why not? We're here now. And this boss you really don't want to mess around with. Actually, let's go veteran soldiers. Let's do it for the meme. Here we go. Summon some weak points while you're at it. Temenos' skill is going to do a lot more as a result of this. And also, I see on the turn order, we have a beautiful thing going on. But we won't have much time to make use of it. My plan was just to use Cassie's skill. We could actually have that happen all over again. But we were able to get through the 100,000 HP relatively easily. Even though it didn't look like it would be very difficult, but the moment this guy has a chance to attack, it is going to, 1, take your party members out of commission, but 2, also make itself that much more difficult to deal with. Do you know what? Just to stay safe, let us use an Inspiriting Plum on Temenos. Or so, let's go for 2. Why not? And then we are finally at the top floor to fight against the Conjurer herself. This particular boss is, in my opinion, a lot easier in comparison to Audi. Simply because, like, Audi, things just spiral out of control. Whereas with this particular boss, things will spiral out of control if you take too long. But the thing is, like, even if she gets like 1 or 2 attacks off, it's not the end of the world. It's when you don't address any of her abilities and the things that she does, if you let her play her game and you let her take the driver's seats, it's just going to be a nightmare. But at the same time, if you were to wipe, you just start at this floor anyway, so you're fine. Now, the Conjurer has 200,000 HP, more than we've ever seen for the game so far, except for maybe the Behemoth boss. And this form that you're looking at right now, the first form has a weakness to Spear, Bow, Ice, and Dark. And then when she does an attack, she will assume the Oni form, and that has a weakness to Axe, Staff, Wind, and Light. Now, how do we want to do this? It's a very, very good question. You know what? Let us... Okay, we're going to have to expose some weak points, so let's expose Spear first. Let's see. There's an Ice weakness that we can make use of instead of having to use the Dancer skill. So yeah, the Apothecary, the Icicle. And then there is the Bow. Okay, I'm not a very big fan of this, but let's see what we can do. Okay, just one hit with a bow. Recover some SP. Okay, so here's the deal. We have 3 weaknesses unlocked, which is really, really good for our purposes. Okay, 2 hits with the bow. And then Casty immediately uses her concoction. Oh, sorry, I picked the wrong one. Okay, there we go. Medicinal, we're gonna go 3 pomegranate leaves, because we can. I see that we have 2 turns worth. You want, get rid of 1 pomegranate and just go for a mighty leaf instead. Diffusing serum, strengthening serum, and then everyone's gonna have a full boost ready to go. And we don't want to mess around with this guy, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for hired help, veteran soldier again. We got the money for it. Let's do it. Then we're going to use the Armsmaster Lionheart Axe. Oh yeah, look at that damage. Do the Lionheart Axe again. It'll be less damage because we don't get a full boost, but that's fine. Thief skills, we're going to use the Emperor's Reckoning. Then switch gears over to the surprise attack. Now Petitio, we're back, baby, but this time instead of using the hired veteran soldiers, we'll just use the beastlings. And then Casti, please tell me this kills. This would be amazing. And horribly anticlimactic if this kills. Oh, no, okay, that's fine. Very close, though. So, what she's going to do now is she's going to do double damage to anyone that she hits, but, I mean, at this point, really, who cares? Oh no, he switched up his weaknesses, but we have sixfold strike and the innate ability still. And this might end up killing anyways. Okay, we overestimate ourselves too much. Alright, so this one has a weakness to wind, so we might as well also make use of that. Okay, do you know what? Donate BP to Temenos. How much HP does this one have anyways? 4,000. Great. Absolutely great. And this is going to be a picture-perfect ending for us. So we're going to donate BP to Temenos. Fully charge. We're going to use the Conqueror's Sword. And then Armor Corrosive to give even more damage. And then we are going to go for the Lion Dance for even more damage. And this is Curtains. 32,000 damage. With all that effort. We got it. But yeah, honestly, the thing about the Armsmaster, like I said at the beginning of the video, it is that it is practically the inverse of the Warmaster from the first game. Because the Warmaster from the first game, pretty much you had to rely on your teammates to break the boss enemy so that it would swoop in at the last second and one-shot them. But this time, you are actively doing whatever you can to lower the break gauge for the rest of your team, for them to come in and just go to town with the most powerful abilities that they have. And honestly, that's just as fun, in my opinion. It might not be as broken, it might not be as crazy or insane, but honestly, the more tools that we have to play around with, the more fun we have. And honestly, I hope that the abilities of the Armsmaster, whether I use them as an offensive support or a more conventional attacker in the hands of Hikari, and then combining that with the Conjurer that we got just now, we could probably find ourselves in a position where we have plenty of tools to work with that more than make up for the loss of the Windhild's Warcry, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. And thus ends the tale of a Tower of Trials, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys very, very much for watching along, sticking with us. I hope you enjoyed the builds that I've put forward. I hope you guys want to copy it, use it so that you can take on the very many challenges that still await us as we play around with the new class. I hope you guys look forward to the video that I'll do for that in the relatively near future. But until then, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everyone. I forgot to go down the stairs.